How's it going, everybody? My name is Bob. This is Jerry. Today we're going to introduce you guys to the Refinish Coatings Color Picker.
Today is an exciting day for us, Bob. We spent a lot of time over the past year and a half working on the Color Picker tool. And what it is an electronic device that works through a phone app. And it's a great color matching solution for someone who doesn't have experience matching colors. And it's as simple as scanning a color like I'm doing right now, or taking a picture of that color. You'll pull up the app on your phone. It's going to give you 3 formulations to pick from, and then you'll go ahead and use your scale and the paints and mix the color.
Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is pull up the app in your app store. Go to your app store. You see here it's the Data Color Color Reader, and you're going to want to download this app. So then you're going to want to open up and get your color picker out here. It comes with a few items. It comes with your color picker. It comes with your carrying case, and it also comes with your calibrator. So you're going to want to connect it to your Bluetooth here. Connect to Bluetooth. See here it pops up. After it's all connected, you're going to want to click on the Refinish Coatings library here. This is the library of all of our colors. It's going to want what you want for all your best matches here. So you're going to want to make sure when you go to your collections that you select the specific series that you're using with Refinish Coatings, whether it's the 100 series, 200, 300, or 400 series. Because if you don't do it that way, you're going to get 3 of the same colors, as opposed to if you're limited to just your series, you're going to get better matches. So we're going to select the 300 series because that's the one we're going to be using today. So after that, your instrument needs to be calibrated. So you'll take your color picker, put it on the calibration block there, and hit calibrate. Once your color reader is all calibrated, you're ready to start reading colors and getting some matches. Okay, so now that your color picker is all calibrated, you're almost ready to start matching colors, but there's still a couple important steps that you need to take before you start matching.
That's right, Bob. You want to make sure that your scale is properly working, and that it's been calibrated properly, and it's helpful if you're working outside that you use the windshield. You're also going to want to make sure that your colors that are in the bottle are completely thoroughly mixed, meaning everything that's settled at the bottom needs to be all the way dispensed equally with the material on the top every time you use it. We have a saying here at Refinish Coatings: more shaking and stirring equals better color matches.
If you don't mix properly, your colors might not match correctly, and then you're going to have some problems. So we make sure that you want to mix that up as thoroughly as possible.
If you've previously been using products from our company, from Refinish Coatings, and you want to integrate one of those bottles into these bottles, and that particular color, let's say, for example, it's white, isn't fully at a 10% pigment strength, all your formulations are going to be wrong. We know this because me and Bob have been mixing colors for a long time now, and through trial and error over a long period of time, we have gotten an air of confidence to know that the bottles need to be shaken each and every time 100% thoroughly in order for those formulations to work. The smallest bit of too much in a formulation could throw these small batches off. So you must mix these up properly each and every time. There is a bunch of mixing marbles at the bottom of these bottles. You'll hear them shaking, and that's how we know that the paint gets mixed up. So you want to mix for what, about a minute each bottle?
I'd say about a minute. You can see the settling on the bottom, and when you turn that over, you're going to know when you got all that pigment off the bottom of the bottle.
So it's very important that you mix each one of these bottles properly in order to get the correct color. You'll also see a color picker sticker on each of these bottles. And what this indicates is that when we've shipped it to you, we assure that everything is mixed up properly, and the strength, most importantly, the strength of the pigment in here is properly mixed in that bottle.
So So as we were talking about, it's very important that your scale is accurate and you want to make sure it's calibrated correctly. So I'm going to show you very quickly how to calibrate. You want to hold down the calibration button here. When it says calibrate and it starts blinking, you're going to take your 200 gram weight here and set it down. Once it stops blinking, that means it's ready to go. So you'll take your weight off here. And then once it's set to 0, you'll put your weight back on to double check it's correct. And it's at 200 grams. A lot of you out there may not have used a scale to measure paint. So there could be some trial and error when you first start.
Yes, what we have found is that if you're not used to using a scale to make these very small, minute measurements, you may struggle the first several times you use it. So you might want to start using some water, to drop in some water. We're also going to show you some ways to get micro drops, as I call them, micro drops into the paint jar, and make sure that you don't overpour. Just a small fraction of a drop of red oxide, for example, may throw that 100 gram formulation way off to be not something that you want to use. So there's going to be some learning curve at the beginning on how to get the exact amount of paint into your mixing cup. So now it's time to match a color, and we have a pile of swatches over there of various colors. Bob's going to take that top color and show you how to match it.
So, obviously you got your swatch in hand. You want to put your color picker on top, and you want to make sure you do multiple reads on it, because you might get different reads based on where you've read it. If it's a dirty piece and you've read some dirt, that could be a darker color. You want to make sure you properly clean your stuff before you read your color. So we're going to go for a read here.
Also, moving around in different spots accounts for the texture and the grain, because there could be some shadows inside those veins in the valleys of the texture. So moving it in different spots will help the color picker get an average of the best color.
So when you read your color with the color picker, it's going to show the color you've read on the left, and on the right, you're going to have 3 options of what the color picker considers your closest matches to that color. So you'll select your top pick and click on color data, and that brings up your formula here. So after you select your color, you're going to want to make sure that your colors are mixed up as we talked about earlier.
More shaking and stirring equals better color matches. And I can't stress that enough. More shaking and stirring equals more accurate color matches.
So what Jerry likes to do when he's using the color picker is to write down his formulas, just so he can get a sense of what he's already put in. He can cross off what he needs to as he's mixing. If he needs to cut a formulation in half because he's not going to need 100 grams, he might only need 50. He can write it down that way also.
It forms a habit of me being able to double check and make sure that I'm actually not misreading the numbers on the screen, but I have them in front of me. And like Bob said, there's many times when I want to just make half formulas. As I discussed before, this is not as easy as it looks. And if you've never done this before, you're going to need some patience and you're going to need to practice. So you can see I'm slowly working up to that 7 gram number. And I want everyone to watch how I make this last little bit happen, because it's very important. I'm going to take my tool. You could use a butter knife. You could use a spatula. Okay, as you can see, I'm a drop or 2 away. I don't want to be putting my drops in at this point. When I'm a drop away and I do this, more than likely 3 or 4 drops are going to go in. And as we said, that will throw your formulation off. So I'm going to put another drop on the tip of my spatula, bring it over to the hole, and flick it in till I get right up where I want to be. 770, perfect. Now you can see I'm going to check this off in case I get interrupted. The phone rings and I come back and I forget what I did.
Keeping the tops of your bottles clean is very important, because if you let too much of that paint build up in the top, you're going to end up putting way too much pressure to get a drop out, and it's going to go from you putting one drop to an entire stream of paint coming in and potentially ruining your color. So we know from all of our color matching that it's super important to make sure this entire jar is mixed up properly, because if it's not, your color's not going to turn out the way you need it. Right here on the sides, how that can build up over there, underneath can build up. You want to make sure all that is scraped up, because if you have even a little bit of residual paint in there, your color can possibly be very thrown off. And the spatulas are very good for getting into those little teeny crevices at the bottom of your cups and all that. So you want to keep mixing thoroughly. It's very important.
And the rubber spatula that we include is important that you have a soft enough spatula that can scrape the corners and the edges thoroughly.
Okay, once your paint's all mixed up, you're ready to spray it out and see how close your match is here.
Next thing I'm going to do is spray down this piece of white vinyl. My first coat I'm going to spray is going to go on very light. This is going to help the paint stick and start to form a film. If I put it on too heavy on that first coat, it'll start to run a little bit. So we want to put a light coat on. Light coat and dry right away. And then I'll proceed to add another light coat and dry. After I get a couple coats on, I can start to build up a little heavier coats and put like medium coats on and dry. The best way to ensure that you have a good color match is to make sure that you have an opaque spray out, meaning it's solid color. And to test that, we're going to shine a light, and you could use the light from your cell phone. You're going to shine a light through the back of the vinyl. If you see the light, that means it's still not opaque. So we're going to put a couple more coats on. Okay, can't see the light. So I am confident that I have a good opaque coating down. So the one thing that I have found to help when we want to try to really hone in on a perfect color match is how we hold the color out in natural light. As you could see, if I just hold them next to each other like this, or like this, or like this, colors look off because they're at different angles. They're at different stretch or tautness. The texture does matter. The texture will let colors look differently. So what I have found, if I stretch the colors just slightly tight over a marker or a Sharpie or a tube, and I put them together, you'll see that that's a really good color match. So if you ever need to know this, This is how you'll angle your color so you get a good color read.
Another very important piece of information about matching colors and checking your swatch to make sure you got the right color look. You don't want to look inside a shop with fluorescent lights. You want to make sure you look at that outside in natural light, because I can guarantee you, if you look at it inside and you bring it outside, you're going to a lot of time have a different look to it. So you want to make sure that you do not go final color inside of a shop.
Yeah, we have there's a fancy word for that, Bob. You know, I like to throw that word metamerism out there.
Yeah.
Metamerism, if you look it up in the dictionary, what it basically says is that artificial lighting cast down on a color will have an effect on the way that color looks. So if we're trying to match the color of this table right now and we're using our pigments, we do that by walking outside. We match all our colors out in the natural light to make sure they're correct. That takes away metamerism and it gives us even light.
You may have seen a lot of similar products like this on the market, but I assure you ours is different.
Yes, well, that is true. We've seen different ones on Amazon. We've seen some at Home Depot, and the prices seem to be too good to be true. So yes, this all might be a little confusing. We have also found out that not all the color pickers out on the market are the same. And as you could see, here is our color picker Spectro from Data Color. And we have something they call the Color Reader Pro. They look just about identical, Bob, as we found out. Yet they don't. And the difference is the guts inside. This is a more costly unit. It's more sophisticated in instrumentation.
We found out the hard way about how different these two pieces of equipment are. We've had this one for a couple of years, and we realized that this was not what we were looking for. With a lot of unfortunate failures in using this, we never thought we were going to get to a point where we are, where this is what we actually need for success.
We did find that this unit is able to deliver the parameters that we need. In our industry, we're not painting whole walls. We're not trying to match the colors of pillows to match someone's dining room chairs. We are trying to match a color of a car seat, and we need a little bit of touch-up paint the size of my hand and blend in around it. So our little industry is unique to our color matching needs. They're very, very, very fine. So let me clear up something that many of you may think what this tool is, and let me make sure that you understand. This is not a spectrophotometer that will match any color. Those units are thousands and thousands of dollars. What this unit will do is it will read and scan a color, and it'll compare it to all the colors we put in our database, and it'll pick the top 3 colors.
At this point, there's what, over 600, Jerry?
Correct.
It's a lot of colors to pick from.
So this is also, you could think of this tool as like a virtual swatch ring. This swatch ring with 50 colors on it is this. This has multiple times more colors. Another way to look at how this color picker works, and this is an analogy that I like, you'll see the diagram here of what I call our color picker universe. And it is populated by all the points of grays and tans and browns and reds and greens. You'll see on this illustration that the grays and tans are heavily populated with points. That means those are colors that we've matched. So if you're matching a light gray or a medium tan off a car interior, you're going to have a very, very good result, if not a perfect match. However, if you're matching a lime green color, for example, you'll see on the illustration that there's not that many points in the green area. So you may not get much more than a very general starting point for that color. And that's important to keep that in mind.
If the delta for the color you choose is above 2, that likely means that you'll be putting more work into correcting that color.
We have built this database mostly around car interiors and aviation interiors. We will continue to grow the database in other colors as they come about and as we are able to add colors into our collection. And those updates will be automatically posted into the app as you use it.
So now Jerry's going to go over what actually comes in the color picker kit.
The kit's going to come with the color picker tool, carrying case, calibration tile, and the charging cords inside the box. We're going to also include some mixing jars that'll fit inside the windshield of your scale. Once you have colors mixed, you can put your leftover colors in other jars, but this will get you started. We can get you more jars if you need. We're going to include all of our 16 pigments that are in our color line. You're going to mostly use these 3, yellow, oxide, black, and white, and then they include the other 4-ounce and 2-ounce colors. You'll use very little lemon yellow, you'll use very little green, but they are in some of the formulas, so you'll need them.
This kit comes with our 300 pigment blend lines, which means that these are already mixed at 10% pigment to 90% of our satin top coat. The ColorPicker also offers our 100 series, our 200 series, and our 400 series, which is our pure pigment line, our Rhino coat line, and our base coat line.
We're going to include 3 stir rods. We've shown you how important it is to mix up the paint. This stir rod right here is great to mix up this white. For example, if you haven't used it in 2 or 3 months, it's going to be like cement at the bottom. It's going to most likely take a stir rod to break it up, or you're going to need to really stir and shake for quite a bit till you break up all that pigment. The other stir rod is great for mixing in the jars, as you saw in the previous part of the video. And this long, soft stir rod here will get into the smaller bottles, or if you're mixing up a smaller batches of paint. So we have the stir rods. You're going to get a stack of the white strips of vinyl to use for your spray outs. In the kit, you're going to have 2 clear or white bottles with one is a brightener additive and one is a duller additive. Gloss does matter. If you're trying to match a color that's very glossy and you are trying to put down a very dull color, you'll have a hard time seeing the correct color. And as you know from doing this, gloss does change the color or the look of the color. So when you are reading the color, you're going to want to observe the gloss of the color you're trying to match and make sure that the clear coat that you're using or the result of the color you're matching has the correct gloss. And you'll use either the brightener or the duller to make those adjustments if needed. And the scale. And that's what comes in there. Also, if you get to the point where a color you've matched isn't exactly what you want and you need to match by eye, we're going to also include a little brochure of my color matching tips, tricks, and a color matching guide that'll help you get to the next step. So, Bob, we have to tell our users to keep in mind that if some of them who are still using the 100 series pure pigment, that's going to be, because it's pure pigment and it's much heavier than our blended products, you're going to make sure it's most important that those pure pigments are sufficiently and thoroughly mixed up each and every time you open that bottle. You may need to get in with the stir rod, and we're going to include several different stir rods in the kit to help dig up that pigment if you're using the pure pigment.
Even the smallest bit left at the bottom could potentially throw off your whole mix for, the rest of the time you're using that paint. So we really, really just want to stress how important it is to make sure the bottom of that bottle is properly mixed and ready to go.
And we have combated the mixing issue by putting extra mixing marbles in each of these bottles that has the ColorPicker sticker on it now. Thought process is with enough mixing marbles laying at the bottom of that bottle, all the things that settle will be settling into the marbles and mixing discs, and you'll be able to easily get those suspended into the mixture more than it just being stuck to the bottom of the bottles. The pigments tend to be sticky.
At this point, I believe we've given you all the information we can about the ColorPicker and how to use it properly. We hope that this tool really, really helps you match your colors and gets your day moving a little bit quicker.
We have a little saying here at Durham. We like to get our customers home in time for dinner. So if you're out there struggling with matching colors and you need some help, consider buying the ColorPicker. And if you need any help or questions, just give us a call. We're here to help. We like helping our customers. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.